If you are just starting off on your ultra running journey and you feel constantly tired, your nutrition and hydration is probably off.
Yep.
I know from experience. If you go on runs and your stomach always hurts, your nutrition and hydration is probably off.
If you have DNF'd an ultra because of stomach issues,
Your nutrition and hydration is probably off.
the number one reason people DNF their first ultra is stomach issues. Running 100 miles seems impossible, and maybe even kind of crazy. And it is, but we believe in big crazy dreams. That's why we ran 100 miles. It was such a life-changing experience for us, we decided to devote this podcast to preparing and inspiring you to run your first ultra race.
Are you ready to feel the highest highs and the lowest lows? Are you ready to do what you once thought was impossible? Are you ready for your trail to 100?
Thank you for joining us here on Trail to 100, the podcast made to help you finish your first 100-mile race. My name is Jacob Bateman, and I'm joined along by my beautiful and lovely wife, Melody.
Hello.
And today we move on to pillar number 3 here in our Pillars of Ultra Running.
Which is...
Drum roll.
Oh, my mic
Melody's
just fell.
mic just fell. Sorry for your ears.
Nutrition and hydration.
Nutrition and hydration.
Nutrition and hydration.
All right.
Also, if you're watching the YouTube channel, my nails are the same color as my water bottle.
Yes, it is. So, anyways, nutrition and hydration is another.
Important.
I mean, every one of these pillars are very important. But okay, here's where I see nutrition and hydration coming in to the picture. If you are just starting off on your ultra running journey and you feel constantly tired, your nutrition and hydration is probably off.
Yep.
I know from experience. If you go on runs and your stomach always hurts, your nutrition and hydration is probably off.
If you have DNF'd an ultra because of stomach issues,
your nutrition and hydration is probably off.
the number one reason people DNF their first ultra is stomach issues.
Yep, nutrition and hydration. So, and here's the thing, like, I know from experience, you can push through a 26-mile training run, even a 30-mile training run with your nutrition and hydration.
Jacob did a 26-mile run where he dry heaved the entire time.
Yes.
It was gross.
And it was very off. And in fact, our first time, when we trained for our first 50 miler, I never even took any, we'll get to it. I never took sodium.
Nutrition didn't even cross our mind because we were just focused on training, on running and lifting weights.
We were focused on pillar number 1. And that was basically it, the distance and time on feet.
No one told us that we had to eat food while we ran.
Yes, exactly. And so anyways, this is like, you can get to race day with your nutrition and hydration being off. You'll be miserable in all those training runs. It's going to be great mental toughness training. You'll be squared away on the mental toughness mindset.
But pushing through 100 miles with gut issues,
not being able to consume calories or sodium, that no matter how tough you are,
it gets to the point where it's dangerous. If you're constantly throwing up, or let's be real, if you have terrible diarrhea or terrible constipation, it gets to the point where it really is dangerous to continue on.
So you guys, we got to eat and we got to drink and we got to hydrate here. So, okay. So let's talk about specifics and how we game plan for this.
Let's go.
So we got to eat on our ultra marathons.
Yes, we established that.
How often? How do I eat while I run? Like, it's just
So how, what, why, how does this work?
yeah.
So honestly, I did a lot of research for this episode. I know the basics, but I just want to say a lot of the stuff that I'm going to say, it comes from Julie Shobe. We will put her in the show notes. She is a nutritionist for ultra runners. She's one that hopefully we can get on the podcast a few
She's a
times.
former guest, so you can go back and look at her episode right now. This would be another great companion episode to this one if you really have questions about nutrition. It's called Ultrarunning Nutrition is Not Intuitive.
Because it's not.
Is what she said. So you're not going to, guys, you're not going to feel like
listening to your body. That, we say that all the time. It's important when it comes to nutrition, but just listening to your body isn't enough.
Because you're not.
You need to have a
feel
plan.
Like it. You're not going to feel like drinking all that water, but you have to if you're going to end up feeling good for the run.
Yeah. So a lot of my information is from Julie Shobe, and a lot of my information is from my NASA personal training textbook. So baseline starting point, when you want to start eating food in your runs, the goal is to get 150 to 250 calories an hour. If that seems like a lot, then you want to start out a little bit smaller. Maybe even start with 50 calories an hour. Once your body adjusts to that, then up it to 100 calories an hour. Once your body adjusts to that, up it to 150 and continue to up it until you find the right amount of calories for you. So that's where you want to start. I also want to throw this in. Experiment with eating, let's say 200 calories an hour versus eating 100 calories every 30 minutes.
Okay, so you're saying experiment with eating once an hour to once every
versus
30
once
minutes.
every 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How often you eat plays a role in how you feel.
Yeah. So I'm going to say that's the base starting line. Focus on the calories.
Okay.
Next, I don't want to get like way too.
No, I like that. And I think you're giving a good point here. First, food, nutrition on your runs. First off, just start doing calories.
Just make sure you're eating enough.
Experimenting with foods, different foods, and see how each one makes you feel.
Exactly.
And see where you feel better, what runs you feel worse. So, starting the problem solve here. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now if we want to get a little bit more specific.
Yeah. Now we've got that down. We know how to eat while we run. Now we want to zero it in even more.
Yeah. Okay. So now we want to track our macros and our sodium while we're running. So the goal, according to Julie Shobe, is carbs we want 60 to 90 grams an hour. Protein we want 5 to 10 grams an hour. And then fat. So this one's interesting. I noticed Julie Shobe doesn't mention getting fat in. She mentions that eating too much fat at one time can cause nausea and GI distress. So she said, if you're going to eat fat on a run, like avocado or bacon or quesadilla, make sure that you spread that fat out over 1 to 3 hours because too much of it can cause GI stress.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, this is different.
So
I also
don't track your fat, but just make sure you're not over consuming it.
Yeah, exactly. I also found, I went to the stringbean.co. He is the one who won Cocodona last year.
Yeah.
And he said that fat is not that important on a run. So don't think about fat unless you are doing a race that is 12 hours or more. Then your body can handle fat a little bit better. So a 100-mile race, yes, you are going to be out there longer than 12 hours. So maybe consider eating a little bit of fat, but don't eat too much of it.
Yeah. And so those are like Julie Shobe's baseline. And I think they're really good for beginners.
They're good for beginners. And I also have to say this. I feel like Julie's baseline, her rules, I think are fantastic for women.
Yes.
In general. I think they work for women and for men. I think particularly these guidelines work really well for ultra running women.
Yep. Now, there is another method to this madness where you go low carb, because 60 to 90 grams of carbs an hour.
That's a lot.
Woo! And I'm going to be honest, sometimes I can handle that, but a lot of times I've noticed that many carbs actually makes me feel sick.
Well, and the thing is, you have to work up to it. If your body is not used to eating that many carbs when you run, you have to back off and slowly increase your carbs and train your body to run with that many carbs.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, but
So if you're doing trial and error and you're like, oh, I am sick when I eat 90 grams of carbs an hour, it doesn't mean carbs are bad for you. It just means you probably haven't trained your body to that point yet.
So Mike McKnight, on the other hand,
hopefully we can get him on to talk
Yes.
about his nutrition approach, which is basically the opposite of this.
Basically the opposite of he eats low carb. And so he does eat like berries, though.
Yeah, he says he's not keto.
Yeah.
He's low carb because carbs are critical for distance runners.
Dude, he's having so much fat on his runs.
How many gallons of milk did he drink at Cocodona?
2 gallons, and he said only 2 gallons.
Okay, which still is crazy to
He
crazy
drank,
me.
He drank 2
Excuse me.
gallons of milk over the course of his
I just see him out there like chugging a gallon of milk.
And he's all about raw milk. He says there's a lot more nutrients and it's a lot better for you. And the government's out to get us. So
I agree.
on their nutrition guidelines. So he's all about raw milk, and he says it's much better for you than pasteurized milk. And honestly, I have a hard time arguing that with seeing the results that he's getting.
Honestly, and I will say, I don't want to get too much into this. We'll dive more into this approach in a later episode, but I will say his approach does make more sense for men in general. There's a lot of research that shows women on low carb diets / exercising fasted, there's lots of issues that it can cause, especially regarding hormones.
Yeah. And so he does have he has more fat than obviously most people recommend, but he's still, I've listened to him on a few podcasts of his own and him talk about, he still, like, during the course of a race is looking to eat more lean meat. And
that makes sense.
Like the night before his race, he's eating chicken, not a ribeye. He'll do like the ribeye 2 nights before. Like, he's still looking for meats and things that are more
low fat,
a little more easy to digest on his specific runs or right before a run. So he's a little more low carb. He's learned how to turn his body to burn fat and not carbs, to fuel off of fat. And that takes a lifestyle, a total lifestyle in order to do that. Like, your everyday meal has to be based off of being low carb.
Yeah, you can't just be low carb in running. You have to be low carb in life.
So, anyways.
So that's a whole
and
other
he does
approach.
talk a little bit more about this in our episode that we had him on previously. So you can look him up, Mike McKnight.
We'll put that in the show notes.
Becoming an Ultra Runner with Mike McKnight's what that episode's called.
So I think we can say carbs are important.
Yes.
Be careful with fat.
Yes.
Okay. One more thing is Mike McKnight also is, I don't know exactly what he does, but he tests his blood sugar and he does all this blood work and like he monitors what he does really closely. So I would recommend not trying to do that unless you're working with a professional who can help you.
Now,
okay. Yes.
Obviously the carbs are important. We haven't talked about this yet though. You said 5 to 10 grams of protein an hour.
Yes.
And I think that is awesome. I think that's one of the best things that Julie Shobe shared on her episode with us, because she talks about how our muscles are just getting beat to death on these long runs. And if we waiting until after the run is over could be detrimental in the recovery for our muscles. And she talks about that, our muscles need some nutrients as we're running, and that's why we have to get protein in as we're running.
Well, and protein makes you feel full for longer too. You feel more satisfied, which I feel like that's really important during a 100-mile race, because this is the food that you are eating to survive for the day. So it helps you to balance out your meals a little bit better.
Yes.
To get that little bit of protein in.
Yes, it does. And so honestly, I love getting the protein in. That's my favorite part, honestly. I actually run with jerky, guys.
Which I'm
that's
curious the fat content in the jerky.
I haven't looked, but
it's been working
I
for
don't
you.
think it's
So
that much, to be honest. It's pretty lean jerky.
okay.
Yeah. But it works for me. There's also like Spring Energies has oftentimes protein built into them.
Spring Energy, hands down, best running nutrition out there.
There's a lot of like Lara bars have protein in it.
Lara bars are good. The only thing is Lara bars don't have a ton of calories. I think one Lara bar is like 130 calories or something. So you'd want to do like a Lara bar plus a banana or something.
Yeah, Lara bar and an orange, something like that.
Yeah.
But so make sure, we're not just down in the peanut butter jelly sandwiches. Actually, that's a good choice because you're getting carbs and protein. And
PB&J is an awesome choice.
What's just a heavy carb thing? Fruit? Mainly
fruit.
Yeah,
fruit, potatoes.
Yeah, heavy carbs with not a lot of protein.
Yeah. Or really just like the candy, the cookies.
Yeah.
It's all sugar and carbs. Yeah.
Exactly. That's where like a quesadilla is nice because you get some protein in the cheese and carbs in the tortilla.
Yeah. But then honestly, I love quesadillas when I run. Julie Shope does say, again, if you have something like that, quesadilla pizza, eat it throughout the course of 1 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
So you still want to be careful with that. But yeah, I think that's a great option.
Okay. And then, all right. So that's kind of the basics on like food to intake and like baselines we should be looking for.
And I'll just reiterate those numbers. So it's 60 to 90 grams an hour of carbs and then 5 to 10 grams an hour for protein.
Okay. Now, hydration plays it's not just what you eat that plays a role on your gut and how you feel. It's what you're consuming and drinking.
Water and electrolytes. Yes.
Okay. So first off, what is an electrolyte?
According to my NASM textbook, this is the definition of an electrolyte. Minerals that have an electrical charge to help transmit nerve impulses throughout the body. So basically, electrolytes, they're needed for proper nerve function. That's important. And they help your muscles contract. That's obviously important when you're running a 100-mile race. They help you stay hydrated. They help you absorb the water that you're actually drinking. And those are the main reasons we need electrolytes.
So that's pretty essential right there.
Oh, yeah.
They basically help your body keep moving. And that's why I say you can like power through a 30-mile run without electrolytes. But as you start getting out there for longer and longer, like when you start talking about dehydration and heat exhaustion, you can be drinking all the water in the world. But if it's a hot day and you are sweating and you are losing a lot of sodium and salts and you're not taking in like planning like added electrolyte intake to replace that sodium. So guys, essentially electrolytes a lot of times is sodium that you're losing through your body as you exercise. So you need that to keep your body going for these hours on end that your body's just going to be taking a pounding and you got to replace everything you're losing.
Well, and here's the thing. If any of you know the story of Jacob in our first self-supported 50-mile race before a self-supported 100, he was drinking a ton of water, but he wasn't getting any electrolytes. So his body wasn't absorbing the water and it was going right through him and he was peeing so much. Like it was like every 5 minutes he had to stop and pee. And we were like, what the heck is going on? Whoever's watching the YouTube, I just found my face scrub in my ear. Anyways, if you wonder what I just did there. Okay. Anyways, so he wasn't absorbing the water, it was going right through him. And even though he was drinking a ton of water, he ended up with heat exhaustion. And it was this whole rescue mission. Our family had to come pull us off the trail. Jacob was super pale. He like wasn't sweating anymore. It was really scary. He was foggy, like he was a totally different person. I couldn't have like a straight conversation with him. And that's what happened when he didn't have any electrolytes. Also, side note, he was drinking a lot of caffeine, which is a diuretic, aka it makes you pee a lot. So if you're one of those runners that loves caffeine on run, be careful with that because it can dehydrate you.
Yeah. So guys, electrolytes is like, for some reason it was the hardest lesson for me to learn to finally.
You definitely learned the hard way.
Oh my gosh. And I don't know. So I don't know how many runs. When I talk about being miserable on their 50-mile training, like I wasn't taking electrolytes. Then
We also were training in the heat of the summer.
yeah, I wasn't. I just and I was always be dragging so hard on my runs. Like every run felt like a mental toughness training run.
Well, we also weren't eating food barely.
Yeah, we weren't taking enough calories. But I think honestly, my main issue is electrolyte intake. Even on our first 100, I still wasn't game planning my electrolytes. I had vitamin waters planted at the aid stations, and I'd take some sips out of vitamin water every like 8 to 10 miles. And that was it for my electrolytes. So even on that, I wasn't taking in even though I had all these experiences of feeling like crap, and I even had a dehydration, heat exhaustion experience. I still hadn't learned. I don't get why it took me so long to get it through my head. But I think a big reason was no one was there telling me, dude, this is what you're doing wrong.
Which is why I'm like, get a coach.
Yeah.
This is why you need a coach.
Yeah. Or
it just
you
helps.
You just need someone. So we didn't.
Or some kind of mentor. Yeah.
We weren't friends with anyone. So join a running group, guys. Get involved, just because
ask questions.
Yes. Most people in running groups want to give you all the free advice in the world they can.
Yeah, find people who love to talk about running.
And so, like, no, I didn't have anybody to tell me your electrolytes are off. You need to actually have an electrolyte plan. And so here I did. I just pushed through all these long, hot runs, feeling like crap. And then all of a sudden, on our 100 at about mile 75, my mother made me chicken noodle soup. And what does chicken noodle soup have a lot of?
Sodium.
And I started drinking that soup, and it was like manna to my soul. And I started drinking that, and all of a sudden, my stomach calmed down. My stomach from mile like 12 on hurt me on my 100 and was terrible.
Same.
And it was a super hot day. I wonder why my stomach hurt. Because I wasn't getting any electrolytes in. Even after my dang 50-mile experience that I had the month before of being dehydrated.
Well, we never looked up how much sodium do you need to take. We just never did.
And we had salt pills, and we would just pop them randomly.
We didn't even know how much sodium was in those pills.
No, we didn't.
Which is better than nothing.
One every couple hours. Like, we didn't know you're supposed to be counting it. Like, I just am like, oh my gosh, it took me so long to learn about electrolytes and hydration. And like, literally, guys, our interview with Julie Shobe was the moment I learned about electrolytes.
Like this light bulb went off in his head. And we were like, oh, nutrition and hydration is important.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's why chicken noodle soup makes me feel so good. And so
also there's protein in there, there's carbs in there.
Yeah, chicken noodle soup is a great nutrition. Look, you're covering electrolytes, protein, carbs all in one go right there.
Exactly.
And hydration, because you're drinking the broth.
Oh, it's golden.
Yeah. So anyways, guys, I can't stress this enough, especially if you're a beginner. I always thought electrolytes was just like some thing Gatorade made up to try to sell their sugary product. Like, I literally was just like, yeah, like what? Why? I just drink water, and I drank water, and water isn't enough. It's not.
No, it's not. And speaking of Gatorade and other cheap sports drinks like that, stay away from them like the plague.
Well, that's Melody's
That's
opinion.
my opinion. Get some salt tabs. Get some LMNT.
Gatorade helped fuel me through my second 100
because it had caffeine in it. But that stuff is gonna sugar bomb you.
Yes, I don't.
Way too much sugar in that stuff.
The zero sugar Gatorade, I don't mind. But
okay,
I don't mind it, but I would prefer LMNT.
Yeah,
example.
I do think LMNT or like a salt
It's
tablet
clean.
is so much better.
Yeah, clean, tastes good. So you take LMNT, it's a drink mixture, you put it in a water bottle. So guys, if you want to drink your electrolytes, on top of having your bladder, you need like an electrolyte bottle with you.
Like a flask.
That's separate from
flasks,
your water.
which I would highly recommend.
Because here's another mistake that I've made before. Our 50-mile run, our first one that we did, I was feeling great, actually. We were popping salt pills, I remember. You brought salt pills. First time I ever took a salt pill was on our 50-mile run.
Seriously.
You brought them. I was like, great, awesome. So I start popping those, and I was feeling great. And I remember getting to like mile 25. I'm like, I don't know how I'm feeling this good. Like, I've never feel this
then
good.
Then did you stop?
20. Yes.
Oh.
But then this is what I did. Yeah, I stopped because then my body started to hurt. I was still feeling, just the normal aches.
Well, also a 50-mile run is probably not a great time to like train your body to eat this new thing for the first time.
I stopped, and then we met my parents at an aid station at mile 37-ish.
Wait, is this on our 100?
On our 50.
Oh, okay. Oh, on our 50.
My mom had a Gatorade.
Did we haven't? No.
My mom had an.
Oh, we didn't have aid stations on our 50. Remember, we set out all of our own food.
This is our first 50 in Bryce Canyon.
Oh, that one. Okay, sorry. Okay, keep going.
So my mom had a Gatorade packet that you dump in water. And I was like, I'm feeling sick of water. Sure, I'll try this. Dumped it in the water. And then after about 3 sips in, I felt nauseous.
See, because it's so processed.
And I had no water on me at that point.
So I just stay away from that stuff.
I was like, the thinking in my head was like, cool, I'll have flavored water now for the last 13 miles. This will be cool. But guys, at that point, all I am is consuming electrolytes plus just a crappy.
You need to have the right balance between water and electrolytes.
Yes. So if you're not, you can't just do one or the other. Like, so I'm saying, electrolytes. I'm not saying just put electrolytes in your bladder and you just drink that. No, you got to have both of them. You got to have water that's separate from electrolytes.
Right. So like what Jacob mentioned, I think the best combo for this, or the best way to do this, is to get a running pack that has a bladder on the back, and then get 2 running flasks for the front of your vest to fill those flasks with electrolytes, and then keep your pack or your bladder on the back filled with water.
Yeah, or have 2 handhelds. One with
if
water.
You don't mind having stuff in your hands. Yeah.
One with water, one with electrolytes, 2 bottles, So what are the baselines, Mel, for water intake and electrolyte intake, like per hour?
Okay, so take in consideration, this is going to change depending on the weather, especially if it's more humid or more hot, you're going to need more water and more electrolytes. But here's the starting point. So water, you want 400 to 800 milliliters per hour. In liters, that's about 0.4 to 0.8 liters an hour. This is minimum.
So that you're talking like 10 to 14 ounces an hour.
Yes. Is that the right conversion?
Yes.
I guess I look at it in liters,
so
because my pack of back
is 32 ounces.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So if you got a 2-liter pack, then that should be lasting you about 4 hours.
Yeah. Another way you could look at it is like half a liter. So if you have a 1.5 liter pack, you'd want to drink a third of that every hour.
And that is hard.
That is really hard. That's a lot of water.
I've never done that consistently.
Yeah. Well, also take into consideration if you have water with electrolytes in it, that water counts too.
Oh, does it?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because now that you say that, I'm probably coming a little closer then. Okay.
Yeah, that's why
I thought you were supposed to drink my electrolytes and down 14 ounces of water.
Well, that's what you need to do. If it's like a salt pill, then you need to make sure
that you are downing 14 ounces of water.
Yeah, but that's why I like LMNT, because you just put it in water and it helps you drink more water too.
Yeah. And one thing that I've done, because obviously if you take too much electrolytes, you can
That can
get
cause
sick.
GI distress.
That also
Yeah.
can cause you to get sick. So it's a balance here. None will get you sick. Too much will get you sick. So what is the right amount?
So minimum want to get 250 milligrams of sodium an hour.
So that's a good
This is
starting point.
minimum.
So start there and then see if my body wants more.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. So those are kind of all the baseline starting points for running nutrition.
250 milligrams an hour of sodium.
Yes.
And
yes.
so that's where you look at your electrolyte nutritional facts and you got to see how much sodium that holds so you can plan how much you need to intake.
Exactly. And look at your running nutrition too. What are you eating? Does that have sodium
That
in
has
it as well?
sodium as well.
Yeah.
Jerky has a lot of sodium.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot. Like you don't even have to have electrolytes if you're just eating jerky every hour.
I mean, I don't know. Look, I don't know.
It's
See
got
how
like
much
600 milligrams, a lot of them.
Oh, well,
in
there's
like
your
a serving.
electrolyte.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ways to get electrolytes is potato chips, salty potato chips.
So yeah, you can get it through food or you can get it through drink. I always have the drink on hand though, just to make sure you are still getting it. So we've been talking about what to eat and drink during a run. What about just in our normal life and how that affects us?
So here's the thing. Eating outside of your training runs is so important because it does affect your training. This is one of the reasons I love ultra running is I feel like it's less of a sport and more of a lifestyle. And in order to perform at your full potential, you need to be taking care of your body during training and outside of training. Side note, Jacob and I are not nutritionists. This is stuff that we just have learned over time. A lot of this information that we're going to talk about is from my personal training certification and other nutrition courses that I've taken, but we are not certified nutritionists.
This is how I view running and eating outside of, eating outside of running.
Okay.
Eating outside of running. So you've taught me this. It's important to eat as clean as you can, meaning
stay away from processed foods and sugar.
Yep. Obviously, sometimes most of the time it's impossible to completely cut it out.
Especially in America.
Yeah. But if you can eat clean, if you can eat whole foods and stay away from the processed, the fast foods, all the sugar, and you're just going to feel better, and it's going to help your recovery because you're giving your body actual nutrients.
For sure. So that kind of the rules that everybody kind of knows, general health, eat your fruits and veggies, stay away from sugar and processed foods. It's also super important that you're getting well balanced meals. So just making sure that in every meal you have a carb, a protein, and a fat.
So here's another story. I like to share stories about how I learned these things. When you were training as much as you're training in ultra running, you're burning like so many calories.
You're going to be eating more.
Yes.
And you need to be eating more.
You need to be eating more. And this will go in our episode down the road of recovery as well. Kind of ties into that. And so you need to still be getting those calories in. Try to get good calories in because that's going to help you recover a lot quicker and feed your body, and give it actual nutrients. But I remember when we were training for our 100, I was always dragging, like just in normal life.
And that could be a sign that you're not eating enough.
Yep.
If you do anything with your nutrition outside of running, just make sure that you're eating enough calories. That's the most important part.
So here's the story where I learned it. I was at work one day, just exhausted, was functioning enough to get by at work, but my coworker could see I just had pure exhaustion. And my coworker looked at me and she said, "You look really pale." And I don't know. I'm just doing my thing at work. Yeah, I feel terrible. she's like, "Are you gonna throw up? Are you feeling okay?" And I was just like, "I just feel tired. Like, I just feel really exhausted." And then she's like, "Here's $10. Go get yourself lunch."
Oh yeah, I remember this.
And I was like, and I told her, I'm like, "You don't have to give me $10. I can get lunch on my own." She's like, "No, no, no." She's like, "Today's lunch is on me." And so I go, and we're talking about eating clean. This is not eating clean.
But if it's between eating nothing versus
Yes.
eating junk, eat the junk.
So I go to Walmart. They got a deli there, and I get their orange chicken and potato fries.
That's not a terribly unhealthy
Yeah,
meal.
I mean,
There's your carbs and protein.
So I come back to work and I start eating it. And I remember like those first couple bites of chicken, it was like I felt the atoms in my body come back to life. Like I just like felt through my body everything starting to like reemerge.
Man, I've never felt the atoms in my body come back to life.
I felt it. It was like, how electrolytes are there to help activate the muscles and keep the muscles moving. Like kind of a similar thing. Like I had no ATP. Like whatever,
Wow, getting all science here.
whatever generates energy in my body, the catalyst wasn't there to generate it. But when I ate that chicken, all of a sudden the catalyst was put into the system and like my body started working again. It literally felt like that.
Isn't that amazing? Food is important.
And my coworker came over and saw me as I was finishing up, and she like just immediately was like, "Wow, you look better already."
This coworker is a mom, right?
Yes.
She's like, I'm like, that's totally a mom for you. She
Yeah.
totally knows that you need food.
Yeah, she's a mom. She's a good lady.
Moms.
Yeah. And anyways, that is the moment where I realized I was not eating enough. Specifically protein. I was not eating enough protein off of my runs.
As an endurance athlete, you are going to need more protein. So make sure you're upping your protein. Something that I tell my athletes, again, this is really, really general, really, really basic, is to eat carbs before your workout to fuel your workout and eat protein after your workout to recover. So make sure just a general rule of thumb, like without tracking your macros or anything, just make sure that you have protein with every meal. And if you can throw protein in with your snacks too, that would be good.
So, anyways, you got to get that food in off those runs. You need to eat some food afterwards. You need to
eat during. A sign that you fueled well during your run is you're not ravenous after your run.
Yeah, that's a great sign to pay attention to.
That's where you want to get, which I was actually kind of sad when I started eating well on my runs, because that was one of my favorite parts, was finishing a run and being totally ravenous and then binging and eating a ton of food. I love that.
Yeah.
That is my favorite day. So that's something that you have to, you don't have to give up. Let yourself binge on your run and binge on your birthday, but generally you want to feel satisfied by the end of your run.
I've been eating a lot more in my training runs. I've been obviously trying to stick to a lot of these baselines that we've been talking about in this training cycle. Guys, this took me 4 years to learn, and I'm still learning.
Learned the hard way so we could help you so you don't have to learn the hard way.
And I'm still learning, but
yeah,
I am to the point where I'm at right now. I'm eating every 45 minutes, and I am trying to get about like 150 to 200 calories every 45 minutes. And I've noticed I'm not ravenous at the end of my runs. And most of the time now at the end of my runs, I'm eating because I know I need to eat to recover.
Yeah. You should always eat after a run. And you should never be like, oh, I ate enough on my run. No, you need to eat afterwards, but you don't have to eat your entire kitchen.
Yep, exactly. It's more just a normal meal,
Right.
Well, I think that about wraps up our nutrition and hydration episode.
For sure. And like we've mentioned, we're going to bring other coaches on to dive even deeper into these subjects. If you have any specific questions that you would like us or other coaches to answer, please send us a message on our Instagram or Facebook, Trail to 100, or send us an email at trail to100@gmail.com.
Thank you guys for joining us. If you know anybody who would benefit from this mini series, The Pillars of Ultra Running, please share the episode with them. Get the word out so that we can help as many people as we can finish their first 100-mile race.
And last thing, we have a big announcement. We are writing a book.
That's right, guys. To go along with helping people finish their first 100-mile race, we are writing a book where we are telling our story of our training and our first 100-mile race.
And what we learned. So this book is going to have all the tools that you need to finish your first 100-mile race.
Yes. So it's going to include our story and our learning process, kind of like what we've done in this episode, our learning process through the story from square one to going across that 100-mile finish line.
So we'll keep you updated on where we're at there, but be sure to watch for that.
It's already been started, and
we're really excited about it.
Working hard on it. It's going to be quite a few months probably still till it's published. So don't get too excited yet, but the process has started and it's not stopping, so it will be coming.
We're just excited to provide you guys with more tools because we want more than anything to help you cross that finish line for the first time. We want to change your life like running 100 miles changed ours.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys for joining us today here on the podcast, and we will talk to y'all next time.
See you guys tomorrow. Hey guys, it's Melody here. Thank you so much for listening to Trail. It means so much to us. I'm really excited to tell you about my coaching business where I help average Joes who are looking for a little bit more out of life do something big to find a little bit more purpose, direction, and meaning. Learn more on my Instagram at The Pine Tree Runner or on my website, melodybateman.biz. Links are in the show notes. I know what it's like to feel stagnant or like something's missing or like you just want more out of life. I was in the same spot. Jacob and I had just gotten married and we were both working 9-to-5 jobs and we just were like, what do we do now? We just wanted something more, and we listened to David Goggins' book and we decided to sign up for a 50-mile race. And since then, we've done 50s, Jacob's done a couple hundreds, I've done 100, and running has changed our lives. I feel like I always have a goal to work towards. I feel accomplished and proud of myself. I feel like I have learned countless life lessons that have made me a better friend, a better wife, a better daughter, a better person. And I want to give back and help you do the same thing. I'm telling you, running can change your life. If you're ready to jump in and sign up for a race, whether it's 3 miles or 100 miles, I would be honored to help you cross the finish line. If you'd like to learn more or get in contact with me, find me on Instagram at The Pine Tree Runner or contact me through my website, melodybateman.biz. Links are in the show notes. You have so much potential and you are way stronger than you know. Let's find your strength because it's there just waiting to be tapped into.